So
Oh, I'm
hey
excited.
everyone, so this is going to be the Executioner reveal. This is such a fun specialization. I'm so excited to show it off to you guys. So let's just dive right in. The Executioners are pretty crazy. You know, they're hulking, massive guys. They have these huge axes they use to do, executioner things, like chop people's
Yeah.
heads off.
Uh,
Um,
we. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. And they're just generally really scary. And we're really happy with how we've managed to evoke that in their cards. So we're going to be talking about those. What is it you wanted to say, Aaron?
Yeah, let's. I was gonna say, do you have a mini for us to see?
Sure. Yes, I do. Let me pull that out really quick.
Oh, are you pulling out saved objects?
Yep.
It's Aislyn.
So
Okay.
this is the Executioner miniature. You may have seen it before. It's kind of hard to, let me just do it like this. Woo. It's kind of hard to tell in Tabletop Simulator, like the Friar one, because Tabletop Simulator can't handle the high pixel count. But it's a really cool miniature. I'm really happy with it.
hmm
And this is their health tracker. We can just put that there. We'll start our executioner over there, off in his
Yeah.
corner.
So executioners have 42 hit points, which is, I think, that is the highest in this season. Um,
Yes.
they are they are pretty meaty. In Evian, every bit of extra hit point is a very real advantage, and Executioner are no exception. You feel pretty thick as one.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at their ultimate, which some of our intrepid fans have already figured out what it was. But for everyone else, let's show off Behead. So this is Behead. This is the Executioner Ultimate. What are you doing as an Executioner? You're executing people. You're beheading them. This is probably the most gruesome illustration we've ever commissioned. It's quite intense. Um, but yeah, this is just a passive ultimate effect. After you attack an enemy, if they have 5 or less HP, you just hit them for 40 damage.
Yeah.
They just
It's
die. They're done for. I mean, there are technically some ways to survive it, but like 95+% of the time, they're dead. It's over for them. So, if you can play a big attack and knock them down to 5 or less, off with their head. And that's what Executioner does, and it's wonderful.
absolutely. It is a simple but incredibly scary ultimate.
Oh yeah, it's so terrifying to be playing against an Executioner and have that just looming. Like, it's coming. It's so terrifying. Um, so, do we want to save the best for last or just dive right into execute, Aaron?
Oh man, I think
Because
we can say I think we let's take a look at some of their other offerings and
okay,
we'll finish up with execute.
okay. So what do we want to take a look at here? What's a good starting point?
You know, let's do you know what? Let's show off the murder of crows.
Murder of Crows.
Yeah.
Sure. So yeah, go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah, so Executioner has we wanted to there to be solid tile modifier cards in both peasant specializations. Executioner. One is Murder of Crows. It's a heroic -1/+1 tile modifier, which is already an excellent start for a card.
Yeah,
Anybody who's played Banner of the Warrior, or Warrior's Banner, I think is what we renamed it to,
yeah.
knows that -1/+1 heroic is an incredible cost. Absolutely phenomenal for just getting your way getting your way through a match. Um, on top of that, this is a persistent discard effect. Um,
Yep.
what this ends up being, so basically, similar to like Chaos Storm at the end of your turn, This pulses to have every nearby enemy discard a card. However, unlike Chaos Storm, it doesn't move on its own, which is both a good thing, which is can be a good thing, because Chaos Storm has to move, and that can sometimes be a downside. Murder of Crows moves whenever any player enters it, which means getting away from Murder of Crows
The crows
can be
disperse.
very tough, especially if you corner an enemy. Um, and you can just walk into it to move it, and you can make sure that these crows always end up near your enemy.
Yeah, it's fairly easy to keep them traveling towards your opponents, and that, threatening that discard every turn is really powerful.
Yeah, we really wanted executioners to have a feeling of inevitability to them, and Murder of Crows is absolutely that. You are slow. Let's not, once they start playing these, the clock is slowly ticking down for you.
Yeah. Aaron, I think we should show off Execute because I think Execute is such an important part of the entire
Of
specialization, and
contextualizing it,
everything else is kind of predicated off of it. So
I,
let's show
you know what?
people Execute.
Sure, let's do it.
Okay, so like Aaron was saying, like this specialization is based off of inevitability. Like everything you're doing is kind of funneling you towards your final goal, and most of the time with an executioner deck, that is playing execute the card itself. So it's unfortunately we don't have art for this yet, so use your imagination. But this is probably the most important card in Executioner. It's also one of the most interesting and bizarre costed cards we've ever made. It's a -4, -2. So this costs 4 actions to play and only 2 power, but it deals 16 damage to your opponent. And yes, combined with Behead, that does mean that if you hit someone at 21 HP with an Execute, they go to 5 and then they're beheaded. So you can kill someone, or rather defeat them, before they've even second winded with Execute alone in Executioner. It's
Yeah, this
also heroic, which is pretty crazy.
terrifying. It is one of the things since we wanted Executioner, we wanted it to feel like you're playing a horror villain. You are playing Dead by Daylight, and you are the killer with Executioner. And
Yep.
it is it is possible to make good Executioner decks that don't run Execute,
Yeah.
but in my experience, Execute is such a fun card, and it is what the spec is built around.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
This also it costs 6 resources, so if you run peasant cards like Smithy, this is not doing 16, it's doing 22 damage.
Yes.
Um, Executioner is built around trying to win the game by playing a single execute. Sometimes
Basically.
it'll have to play two, but it is terrifying. It costs 4 actions, which means you always see it coming. Like
Oh, yeah.
it's weird. It's kind of weird because yes, it's a lot of actions, but also does it really matter if the game ends when when you play it? You have to be set up, but I don't know, it's a very fascinating cost, and it really makes Executioner have to plan 2 or 3 turns in advance to get their execute out.
For sure. All right. So, what are some other cards that kind of funnel into that and like support execute?
Well, I think absolutely there's well, I don't know, we've got some excellent options.
Sure.
Maybe spare, maybe wet.
Yeah, let's just take a look at what. This is a very simple card, but
Yes.
honest. Oh, can you move your cursor?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So this specialization is overall just really quite simple. Like it's just kind of all based around execute and behead for the most part. And a lot of other things are just supporting you in that. And so wet is just an amazing power generation card. It doesn't do anything else. And this is also just, kind of basically uh, funneling into the aesthetic of being like a horror villain. You're just sitting there staring at them, wetting your axe, and that's it. It's kind of creepy. Um, I think Aaron might have left Discord. 1 second, guys. 1 second, guys. Aaron. Aaron. Oh my gosh. I think one of our cats made him somehow leave Discord. Aaron?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi.
Hi. Clark stepped on my power button.
That's what I thought.
But it disconnected me. Can you see my OBS stream?
Yeah, we can still see you.
Oh,
Yeah.
great. I'm not in game. I'll join up in a second.
Oh, wait. Oh, he like turned off your computer? Like pseudo turned off your computer?
Yes, Clark stepped on the power button.
Oh no, that's so funny. We love our cat Clark. He's
Yeah,
doing his best to help.
he is a menace, but
Yep.
I do love him dearly.
Okay, well, in the meantime, I'll show off another one of these cards. So this is another card that does a wonderful job of supporting Executioner and their terrifying nature. Make your peace. So this is another interesting instant card. This is a counter. However, it's a counter that costs -2/+2, which is a bit of an odd cost for a counter. But you get a really, really good bonus if, like compared to other counters in the game. You're not just countering their card if it's countered, their turn ends. So if you use this at the right time when they either can't play, they can't pay for the effect, or on a card that, they really, really need to resolve, this is just an absolutely brutal counter. Um, and it can put you in a position to just execute them next turn if they weren't prepared and they were struggling already. Uh,
Yep. If you just have three actions at the start of your turn and you pass turn, and you play make your peace at the right, if and you counter their card, you start your turn at four actions and two power, which is exactly enough to execute.
yep,
Make your peace is very scary card to have to be facing down.
yep. It's really, 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 really fun too. It's interesting because it makes Executioner kind of more of this control playstyle because you're sitting there, you're waiting, you're biding your time, and then at the right moment you apply instant interaction in a way that really messes up your opponent and puts them in a compromising position, and then you execute. It's really fun, but it's not actually that easy to pull off. You have to be pretty smart about it. And let's show off another card that's an instant card that kind of helps the Executioner's game plan. Once
Oh
again,
yeah.
also kind of going into the serial killer vibe of like, what's that guy's name from Halloween?
Um,
Michael.
yeah, Michael. I want to say Michael Myers.
Michael Myers. Yeah, yeah, that's basically the executioner. If we got that name right, let us know if we got it wrong.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I'm gonna play with
um,
Myers.
yeah, so this card is a very, very interesting instant interaction. It's doing it in a totally different way from like basically any other instant card out there. It makes it so the next time they resolve a card, you gain the power it would generate instead, and it's instant. So they play like let's say a -1/+3. Um, you play stare. They don't gain any power from that -1/+3. It still costs them an action because the card resolves. And then on top of that, you gain 3 power, which means that Stare was basically like a 0/+1 at that point. And
Hmm.
heaven forbid that a poor invoker tries to play Pyre, the -2/+4, and then you stare that. Not a fun
Oh
time
yeah.
for them.
And yeah, it's not just a power generator for you at that point. It is taking away that many. So it is an insane card, and it is terrifying.
Yes.
Because a lot of times people rely on generating power to get rid of control. So like, if you lock somebody down, um, and then you stare whatever power generator they have in response, they just are out those resources.
Yep. Absolutely. It's pretty great. Are there any other cards we want to show off here?
I would love to show off their trait Grim if we have
Oh,
it,
yes, we do have it.
but I think with other than that, I'm good to get into the game.
Sure, yeah. Let's show off Grim and then start playing. So this is, if you're aware of how we make cards for Evian, whenever we release a specialization that's multicolored, we also have a trait in that box that is the same multicolor combination. So Executioner has a black and gray trait associated with it that really helps them, especially their execute game plan. It's called Grim. So it's very, very simple, but it's really fun to play with Executioner and other characters like Aaron, you like to play this card with Saint, right? Um,
Yeah, well, running it with Saint is not easy. There's, in fact, you have to run another trait, Dilettante, that allows you to play it. But I do have a Grim Saint deck that I
yeah,
absolutely
yeah. So your
um,
max power, or your max, excuse me, actions, and that's important, is increased by 1. So usually the max is only 5, but this bumps it up to 6, which can make a huge difference for a character playing, or like an executioner deck, because your actions are so important, and especially with cards like Make Your Peace and Execute, you need to save up a lot of actions. So this helps a lot. And on top of that, you just get a little added bonus of your max HP is increased by 3,
yeah,
which, isn't too complicated, but it's really, really nice because it allows you to just sit there as an executioner and just take a beating while you're preparing to just cut off their head.
yeah. I want to offer a little bit of design insight into this. Back in the day, when we were first doing pre-alpha testing of Evian, or the game that eventually became Evian, we had the maximum actions that players could have be 6. But what we discovered is that took away any sort of forward motion on that first turn. There was not a need to do something on that first turn. You would just wait, and then you'd go up to 6 on your next turn because you weren't wasting any resources.
Yeah,
And it completely changed how the game felt to reduce it to 5. Grim allows you to go back to that older style where if you play Grim, you pretty much never do anything on your first turn. You just sit there and stare at him menacingly.
yeah.
You just wait, and then you've got a 6 action turn.
Because you'd rather
And
just save them up. Like, if you can save up to 6, it's just better, generally speaking, to just save up to 6.
it's
And
incredible.
I want to interject and just mention that that is actually the reason that we made the rule of 5 in the first place,
Mm-hmm.
is because we originally had stuff at 6. Because we were testing on 6-sided dice, and so we were like, well, 6 seems fine. And then, like Aaron said, we discovered that that wasn't fine. We wanted the strategy to be different, so we bumped it down to 5. But we want certain characters to be able to run Grim and kind of evoke that, like, creepy, just sitting there waiting vibe.
Absolutely. And the extra hit points just as a little bit of icing on top, and it feels excellent. This is a fantastic trait, and it's one of my favorites. If I can run it, it's something I seriously consider.
It is
Because
really fun to play. The extra action save really changes the way you play the game. It's so simple, but just changes so much, which is really fun.
absolutely, you just get to wait so much, and you can do like good, like strong competitive decks that are aggressive can do like 30 plus damage on a turn where they start with 5 actions, and it just only goes higher with 6 actions. It also lets you play, maybe you have a 4 action attack you want to protect, you know.
Yeah.
it
Ooh, what could
makes
that be?
protecting execute a lot nicer for executioner specifically.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
Excellent card.
For sure. Okay, guys. Well, thank you so much for watching the Executioner reveal. You're going to be able to play them in Crossroads once that releases in 2024. And we're also going to put them on Tabletop Simulator today for you to check out. And if you'd like, you can stay tuned, and we are going to play a game with the Executioner right now. So thank you for watching,